Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today I'm documenting a photo of myself and my family when we were in Cherbourg on our recent cruise. It's been printed 4x4 or just under 4x4, and I'm using 49er Market Summer Porch. And you can see in the top left hand corner there I'm using a sketch today. So for International Scrapbooking Day, Hey Little Magpie held challenges, all created by my fabulous design team, and Kiri's challenge was to use a sketch that she created, so that's what I'm working with. I pulled out the Summer Porch page kits. This was a product that I had because there was something missing from it, so I couldn't sell it in the shop, so I decided to keep it for myself because I do love this range. And I've decided to use one of the background papers, but to create my own layout using my scraps and things. So that's what I'm doing here, you can see. So the mat behind the photo is one of the embellishments from the page kit, and then the stripy paper and the other bits of paper are all from my stash. They're just from my scraps bin, and I'm just going through to see what I think will work nicely with this. So just slowly building up the layers behind. I haven't followed Kiri's sketch exactly, but it just gave me the jumping off point to start with, and I wanted to use a square photo and lots of different layers. I really like the chevrons that are on this paper, so I wanted to keep those and not cover them up, and that created a little bit of a problem in itself because they're in the middle of the page, and I wanted to keep this cluster over to the right per Kiri's sketch. So I'm just playing about with different papers and trying to work out exactly how I want this to go. I definitely wanted to use blues and reds, but I am using various tones of blues just to create interest really on the page. And I'm trying not to make those mats too big. So you've seen there, I just cut down that blue, the sort of, I suppose it's like a watercolour blue that's sitting behind the main photo mat there. It was just looking a little bit too big, so I wanted to chop it down. So now pulling in this piece, this is I think it's Moonlit Garden from 49er Market. Again, another shade of blue, and it wasn't quite long enough, so I'm just trimming a piece to add to the top and a piece to add the bottom. I'm just deciding under which layers it goes because there are quite a few layers there now. So I'm starting to feel happy with the way that the papers are all sitting on the page. So I'm going to start gluing things down, and I try not to move things too much. Inevitably they do get moved a bit, but I think I pretty much put them back as they were. It's the first bit is fine, but it's when you start moving those bigger pieces and thinking, did that go over or under? So I don't know whether you've been on Hey Little Magpie Chat and Inspiration on Facebook. I'll leave the group in the description box down below. Do come and join us. There's 8 challenges that were set over the 2 days of International Scrapbooking Weekend, and fabulous challenges. We've also got some magpie points up for grabs if you join in, just so that you can spend them at the store. Don't worry if you're international, we do ship internationally, but we also have some virtual products that you can buy using the magpie points if you don't want to pay for the shipping. So just fiddling about here, trying to get everything straight. I had a problem with this piece. I thought it was going to go on the right hand side, that brighter blue, the tealy sort of colour, but in the end it does move over to the left, sort of behind the photo, and I'm much happier with it there. So you can see I'm just trying to glue everything together as one big piece so that I can make sure I've got enough room for my title on the left hand side, and also that I'm happy with the positioning of it all. If I start sticking it straight to the base, I just know that I'll end up with it too far over to the right or too far over to the left. So here I am playing with that piece. I wasn't sure whether to turn it over and use the other side. It's another 49er Market paper, one of their foundations papers. I think it's from Spectrum Sherbet, possibly. So that's where it ends up. I just tuck it underneath the main chunk, just so that little bits peep out behind everything. So now that's blocks done, I could see from the sketch that Kiri had some almost like grid work to the right of her page, and I thought that was the perfect opportunity to pull out my distressed grid stamps from Hey Little Magpie. These are stamps that I designed, and I do love these. I think it's one of my favourite sets actually. So you can see I'm just lining these up and creating a very thin layer of that grid down the right hand side of my pattern papers. I used, I think it was prize ribbon might have been Chip Sapphire, but I'm pretty sure it was Prize Ribbon. I think it's brighter than Chip Sapphire is. So here I am just gluing that block down. I am going to use my fingernails to distress all the edges. I won't make you watch that all, but it was my intention to distress everything before putting it down, and I forgot. So I'm just curling up and breaking the fibres in those papers to create a distressed look. And now I'm pulling out my Florence letters. It's been a little while since I've used these from Bella Boulevard. I absolutely adore them. You can see navy is definitely my favourite. I've got quite a few sheets, and I'm going to spell out Cherbourg Harbour, which is where we were. This holds a special place in our hearts, both mum and dad and my sister. It was where we used to sail from Southampton Water when we were younger. We had a sailing boat and we used to sail across every summer, and this was the start of our holidays, so it was nice to be back again. So I'm just going to do a few journaling lines just to spell that out really, and then a couple of the hearts from that sticker sheet just around that title and journaling. And now I'm going to start embellishing. So I start off with the embellishment pieces or the ephemera pieces that are in the page kit, and this film reel is one of them, or Instax reel. So I'm just going to tuck that behind the photo there, and that's what works as my main base for building up my clusters. And I'm just pulling a few other bits out that I like the look of. I really like this phrase that says the greatest, and it's bringing a bit more red into the page because I haven't got a lot of red there at the moment. And then I saw this rope and I thought that would be perfect as another layer behind the photo. So I do glue it down here. I cut it in half to get a bit more length and glue it down, but then decide that I'm not happy with the positioning, always after I've added the wet glue. So I pull it up. It does cause a tiny bit of damage to the paper at the bottom, but I'm really not worried about that. You don't notice it when you're looking at the layout as a whole. It's quite a distressed, grungy layout anyway, so it's absolutely fine by me. So you will see, I just pop this down and then decide that I'm not happy with that gap between the chevrons and that rope. I want it to be further over to the left. So I'm just pulling it up, and that's where it's going to sit. And I will trim a little bit off the length because it is just a little bit too long, but I didn't want to tuck it in anymore because I wanted that lovely knot to show and not be hidden behind the stack. I think it's at this point I also noticed that photo isn't stuck down. I think putting that Instax reel behind the photo, it's not an Instax, Viewmaster reel. It's late, I'm losing my words. The Viewmaster reel behind the photo hid all of the adhesive that I put on the photo, so I do notice that shortly, and I'll get that stuck down again with a bit more ATG. I'm still really enjoying using my ATG gun for most things. So there you see it just flung off, and luckily I noticed that I had that little title there as well, so pick that up to stick down on the photo. So I've got that lovely star there with a little faux staple in that's going to go down, and I pull out some other bits to add to that cluster. So first of all, this ampersand. I really like ampersands on the layout. We've got a die set at Hey Little Magpie which you'll see me using from time to time, and I just love it. So this little piece says hello, so I thought I could add that to my title to say hello Cherbourg Harbour. And what else do I add? Oh, this is a little piece of the rope that I cut off, and I just didn't want it to go to waste, so I'm just tucking it underneath the journaling there. It just works as a nice anchoring point really. And then I found another little phrase that says this makes me happy, so adding that. And I'm going to commit to that ampersand and the star, and then I will find another piece to add to that cluster shortly. So just getting that glued down. And I found this journaling piece which I thought would work really well for my date. So in a minute I will pull out the ephemera pack from Summer Porch, which I've got in one of my pouches, and just go through that, here it is now, and see if there's anything else that I can add. And I just find a few more little bits. There's not a huge amount. These embellishments that I've got left definitely lean towards summer more, and it wasn't quite summer yet when we were there. It was only April, so I did find this little, it was the piece that a heart was in, but it had that lovely chevron border, so I'm just using that as a another accent really behind that teal blue, and it brings in a bit more of the red. And then I find this long piece which I'm going to cut in half and use half of, again just as an extra matte behind everything, and it's just bringing that red in that little bit more. I'm much happier with that. So just roughing up the edges again with my fingernails. Not easy, it's quite a heavy cardstock. But just getting that stuck down there. And look at what a difference that little bit of red makes. So now I'm going to add my date before I forget. So that's going to go on that tag at the top, which is the 11th of April. And then just looking to see what else I can find. I can't see what I'm doing there behind. Oh, it's a little red piece, I think, that I found that I just tucked under there. And again, it's just bringing that red around the page that little bit more. So this heart was the final piece I wanted to add to this cluster here. I felt that it just finished it off nicely. And then, of course, a couple of ribbon loops. So first of all, my black and white gingham. It's just hanging about on my desk, and that's why you'll see me using it so much, because I can't be bothered to go into my ribbon drawer, so I'm just cutting bits off that. And then this lovely red, I think this is left over from Christmas actually, but it's a beautiful ribbon, so just tucking that under the heart there. So the last bit to do is just to add a few splatters. So I'm using my Tim Holtz watercolour pencils, just with a brush full of water, and that just picks up the pigment nicely and adds a few little splatters in a few little places. And that's the layout done. I hope this has inspired you. Do come and join us at Hey Little Magpie. Oh, just this was the last thing. I felt that it needed a border, so I am just going to add a doodle border around the edge, and then add some squiggles to look like stitching. So yes, do come and join us at Hey Little Magpie Chat and Inspiration on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, like I say, I'll leave the link in the description box down below. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I love hearing from you. If you've got any comments, do pop them down below and I'll come back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thanks again. Bye.